There was a quiet town surrounded by dry hills and long roads where people lived simple lives. Every morning looked the same. Shops opened slowly, buses moved through dusty streets, and workers carried tired faces before the sun fully rose. In that town lived a young man named Daniel. He was not poor enough for people to feel sorry for him, and he was not successful enough for people to admire him. He lived in the middle of everything, unnoticed and uncertain. Daniel worked in a small printing shop where he spent long hours designing wedding cards, posters, and business papers for local customers. The job paid enough to survive, but every evening he returned home with a heavy feeling inside his chest. He always felt that his life could become something bigger, but he never trusted himself enough to try. Whenever he imagined a better future, another voice inside him whispered that he was not talented, not smart, and not brave enough. Slowly, that voice became stronger than his dreams. Daniel often compared himself with others. He saw old classmates building businesses, traveling to new cities, buying houses, and speaking confidently about their plans. Social media made everything worse. Every picture looked perfect. Every success story made him feel smaller. At night, he would sit beside his window and wonder why confidence came so easily to other people. He believed successful people were born different. He thought they had special abilities that ordinary people could never have. Because of this belief, Daniel stopped trying new things. He avoided challenges because he feared failure. Even when opportunities appeared, he stepped away quietly. Deep inside, he was afraid that trying his best and still failing would destroy the little hope he had left. One rainy evening, the electricity in the town suddenly went out. Daniel closed the shop early and walked home through dark streets covered in silence. While passing near an old bookstore, he noticed a small candle glowing inside. Curious, he entered the shop. The bookstore smelled of old paper and dust, and the shelves looked ready to collapse after carrying thousands of books for many years. Behind the counter sat an elderly man with calm eyes and silver hair. He welcomed Daniel with a gentle smile. Daniel walked slowly through the narrow aisles until he found a thin old book with faded letters on the cover. The title simply said, "Believe First." Something about those words pulled him closer. He opened the first page and read a sentence that immediately caught his attention. "The world changes only after you change the story you tell yourself." Daniel stood still for several seconds. Those words felt strangely personal, as if someone had secretly watched his thoughts for years. The old shopkeeper noticed Daniel's expression and walked toward him. In a soft voice, he asked, "Do you know what destroys most dreams?" Daniel shook his head. The old man replied, "It is not failure. It is the belief that success belongs only to other people." Daniel listened quietly while rain hit the windows outside. The old man explained that self-belief is not magic, talent, or arrogance. It is the decision to trust your ability to grow, even before results appear. He told Daniel that many people wait for confidence before taking action, but true confidence comes after repeated action. The old man spoke slowly, but every sentence felt powerful. Before Daniel left the store, the old man handed him the book and said, "Read one page every night, but more importantly, begin changing the way you speak to yourself." That night, Daniel could not sleep easily. He kept thinking about the sentence from the book. For years, he had repeated negative thoughts inside his mind. He called himself weak, average, and unlucky so many times that he finally accepted those words as truth. For the first time, he realized that his greatest enemy was not his situation. It was his own thinking. The next morning, he decided to make a small change. Instead of complaining silently during work, he focused carefully on improving every design he created. He watched tutorials online after work and practiced new skills late into the night. The progress was slow, but something important had changed. He no longer worked only for money. He worked with purpose. Weeks passed, and Daniel began noticing small improvements in himself. He became more disciplined. He stopped wasting hours comparing his life with others. He read books about communication, confidence, and personal growth. Whenever negative thoughts appeared, he challenged them instead of accepting them immediately. Some days were difficult. Fear still returned often. But Daniel understood that self-belief was not the absence of fear. It was the choice to continue despite fear. This realization slowly transformed him. One afternoon, a customer entered the printing shop looking frustrated. A local business needed a complete branding design for a new cafe, but the previous designer had suddenly quit. Daniel's boss hesitated because the project looked difficult. Normally, Daniel would stay silent and avoid responsibility, but something inside him pushed him forward. With nervousness shaking his voice, he offered to try. His boss looked surprised but agreed reluctantly. That evening, Daniel worked harder than ever before. He redesigned logos again and again, studied color combinations, and practiced until sunrise. For the first time in years, he felt fully alive. The cafe owner loved the final design. Soon, other businesses started asking for Daniel's work. People praised his creativity and professionalism. The same person who once hid from opportunities was now receiving new ones every week. Yet the most important change was not outside. It was inside his mind. Daniel began understanding a powerful truth. People often see your value only after you begin seeing it yourself. Months later, Daniel decided to take an even bigger risk. He left the printing shop and started his own small design studio in a rented room above a grocery store. The room was tiny, hot, and filled with secondhand furniture, but Daniel felt proud of it. In the beginning, business was unstable. Some weeks he earned almost nothing. Doubt returned many times, whispering that he had made a terrible mistake. During those moments, he remembered the old shopkeeper's words. Confidence comes after repeated action. So he continued working. He improved his skills, contacted clients daily, and learned from every mistake instead of becoming ashamed of them. As time passed, Daniel's studio slowly grew. He hired one assistant, then another. Customers respected his honesty and dedication. Years earlier, Daniel believed successful people were born special. Now he understood that many successful people simply learned to continue when others stopped. Self-belief gave them the courage to fail, learn, and try again. That was the real difference. One evening, Daniel walked back to the old bookstore, hoping to thank the man who had changed his thinking. But when he arrived, he discovered the shop was empty. The windows were covered in dust, and a sign on the door said the bookstore had closed months earlier. Daniel stood silently for several minutes. He never learned where the old man had gone. But perhaps that was not important anymore. The lessons remained alive inside him. Daniel continued growing his business, but he also began speaking to young students in local schools. He shared his story honestly, including his fears and failures. He told them that self-belief does not appear suddenly one morning. It grows slowly through daily actions, discipline, and courage. He explained that many people destroy their own future because they decide too early that they are not capable. He encouraged students to stop waiting for perfect confidence before starting something meaningful. During one speech, a student asked Daniel, "What is the secret of self-belief?" The room became silent. Daniel smiled gently before answering. "The secret is understanding that your mind listens to everything you repeat. If you call yourself weak every day, your actions become weak. If you believe growth is possible, your actions slowly become stronger. Self-belief begins when you stop treating your fears like facts." The students listened carefully while Daniel continued speaking. Most people think confidence comes from success, but often success comes from acting before confidence exists. You do not need to feel fearless before taking the first step. You only need enough courage to begin. That night, after returning home, Daniel stood beside his window just as he had many years before. The town still looked quiet and ordinary, but he no longer felt trapped inside it. He realized that the biggest prison in his life had never been the small town, the low salary, or the difficult circumstances. The real prison had been his own doubt. For years, he waited for someone to believe in him. But the day his life truly changed was the day he finally chose to believe in himself. And that is the secret of self-belief.